New York. New York, 8.3 million inhabitants, 32,000 streets, 5 boroughs, 3 rivers, which altogether make up one city unlike any other on the planet. What's all the more remarkable is that when you stop to consider what makes the city so recognizable today, whether it be the iconic skyline, famous cultural offerings, or the energy of its streets, you realize that virtually everything that makes New York so renowned the world over simply did not exist, even as little as a century ago. That is because much of the city's history has been shaped by constant evolution, development, and renewal, which has transformed New York unimaginably over the years. But how did this city, which started off as a small outpost for European traders just over 400 years ago, evolve into the sprawling mega metropoli that it is today? This is how New York became the world's greatest music city, long before the bustling streets and towering skyscrapers of modern-day New York. The area was full of dense forests, flowing rivers, and abundant wildlife. The land itself was home to groups of Algonquin TNP-speaking Native American tribes, chief amongst which were the Lari people who lived in harmony with nature, hunting, fishing, and cultivating the land in an undisturbed manner for some 8,000 years until the arrival of the first Europeans. The European exploration and colonization of the Americas began in earnest at the outset of the 16th century as navigators from nations like Spain, France, and the Netherlands sought out new trade routes to these newly discovered and resource-rich territories. In 1524, the Italian explorer Giovanni de Verzano, sailing under the flag of France, became the first European to set eyes on the shores of what would one day become New York Harbor. Verzano claimed the area in the name of France, although any attempt to follow this up with colonial settlement failed to materialize. It would be almost another 100 years before Europeans would return to the area, and it would be the Dutch who would ultimately leave the first lasting impression on what would eventually become New York City in 1609. The English explorer Henry Hudson, who was in the employ of the Dutch East India Company, had been tasked with finding the elusive Northwest Passage purported to connect the Atlantic and Pacific Oceans. Whilst on this expedition, Hudson sailed up the northern river of New York Harbor, which now bears his name in honor of his discovery. He claimed the land on either side on behalf of the Dutch Republic, and in the process established a foothold for future Dutch settlement and trade in the region. The following decades saw Dutch trading posts established along the banks of the Hudson River, as well as others dotted along the coastline stretching from the Delaware River to Cape Cod, which formed the wider territorial claims of the Dutch colony of New Netherland. Initially, these isolated dwellings and their occupants were focused entirely on the commerce produced by the fur trade. But in 1624, the Dutch West India Company decided to send a ship full of colonists to establish permanent civilian settlements in the region. They first landed on what is now Governor's Island, but were then dispersed amongst the chosen sites for settlement across New Netherland. A small group were disembarked on the southern tip of Manhattan after it was decided to construct a fortification there to protect the entrance to the Hudson River and the valuable carrots of the fur trade which passed upon on it. With that, the foundations of Fort Amsterdam were laid out in 1625, and it quickly formed the epicenter of a new settlement which sprung up around it. New Amsterdam was born, and so too were the beginnings of New York City. Just to quickly pause for a moment and let you know that making these videos involves a lot of work on our side, from researching, script writing, and animation to editing and final composition. Although this is very much a passion project and something we truly love doing, it can, like any kind of work or aspect of modern life, take its toll on our mental health. There have been times when the pressure of meeting deadlines, the stress of ensuring the quality of our content, and the constant need to be creative have left us feeling overwhelmed and mentally drained. It's during these moments that we realize the importance of prioritizing our mental well-being and seeking support when needed. Just like how we put in hours of effort to create the best possible content for our viewers, it's equally important to invest time and energy in taking care of our mental health. Whether it's taking breaks when needed, practicing self-care, or reaching out for professional help, we've learned that addressing our mental health is crucial for both our personal and professional lives. That's where BetterHelp, today's paid partner, comes in. BetterHelp is an online therapy platform that makes starting therapy easier and much less intimidating with BetterHelp. You can have therapy sessions as a phone call, video chat, or even message in.